screwing around and start!
Hey, this video we're going to be uploading a Ghostrick profile. You guys have been requesting this non-stop and over and over and over. And I have random videos and it'll be like, hey, Ghostrick profile. And it's like, well, okay. I've been working on this list for like the last 2 weeks straight. I've changed every single thing about it like 20 times. And this is the best list I have. I will explain things that you can do if you want to make this list a little different, because there are actually quite a few things you can do to change this list depending on what you have to face at your locals. Things I have to say beforehand. 1. This deck loses hard to Denko Seika. 2. This deck loses hard to Vanities. Because of that, basically, play the deck where you don't have to deal with Vanities and Denko Seika as much. And the deck is engineered with a decent side deck to help fight against Vanities, or to Denko Seika. And you just have to hope people don't play Vanities, because yes, it is still a hugely played card, but a lot of people are actually playing it less and less, and sometimes only up to 2 copies of the card, which is nice. And generally you don't use this deck against directly the current meta. So we have some issues with Denko Seika. But other than Denko Seika, this deck does actually surprisingly well against Shaddolls, and it is kind of an auto win against Tellarknights in a way, because it has some of the perfect outs to that deck. So that is the deck description. I'm going to start into the actual list now. Starting up with the main card, we have 3 copies of Jiangshi. She is like your main dude. What she does is, when she's flipped up, you can add a Ghostrick that's equal number of on the field. Basically, she's a 1-for-1. If they attack into her, you can basically search for what you need. It's really nice. Your goal is to get her out as soon as possible. She helps you keep advantage. Next, I play 3 copy on Mummy. The way that this deck plays is its goal is to get to your extra deck as soon as possible. Your extra deck is where it's at. You need your Dorklord. This deck, current list, is kind of 100% engineered for Dorklord. So this deck list will generally only work with Dorklord. I will actually release later in the month a list that doesn't need her, but I will, 10 times out of 10, this build will work way better just because she is kind of what the deck needed to be considered really good. The only other level 3 Ghostrick we're running is 2 copies of Skeleton. You could up this to 3 if you wish, but personally 2 has been enough. You can't resolve multiple effects. When the first original translation said that you could, it would have been really, really nice, because then you could actually do a huge, decent gap. But the fact that you can use this and banish off a bunch of your opponent's cards, and they can't return it using cards like Burial, it's just, this card really, really screws with a lot of decks. So getting this off, even if you don't win with this strategy, this just really screws your opponent's deck. And surprisingly enough, this deck wins a lot with this strategy. You can also win by battle. It really depends on the deck you're facing, what you choose. And the last level 3 is 2 Tour Guide. If you want to run less Tour Guide, don't run it at all. If you want to run 3, I strongly suggest go 3 Tour Guide, 2 Scarm, because that is the perfect combination for this card. Because the second you get the first Tour Guide, or the second you get the first Scarm or the first Tour Guide, you can get into the other cards, and you can loop all of them perfectly into each other. But if you have any more, then you don't really need that, and if you're running less, it's bad. So I personally like 1 and 1, but if you want to, you can run 3 and 2. That's the best combinations I've found for Tour Guide. Now we're on to level 2s. 1 Nekomusume and 1 Witch. These are your main ones, because she shuts down Tellarknights. If you successfully get this card out in Tellarknights in like your first turn or 2, your opponent's done. They can't really get around this card. And Witch is also a wonderful card, because she just gets rid of those problematic cards that hinder your summoning. So flip up a Mummy, summon her, flip the window down, and do that. And my mandatory Yuki-Onna, making this deck another card up. It's just a really, really, really good card. So this deck is 42 cards. But I will explain things. You do not have to run her. I like her because she shuts down cards like Winda, and it just takes your opponent's boss monsters, flips them down permanently. They can't use that card anymore. And she's just pretty. She's like my favorite. So use her if you want to. This is one of the cards I suggest taking out if you wish to go down to 40 cards. For level 1s, we are playing 3 Lantern, 3 Mary, 2 Jackfrost, and 2 Specter. I actually have sides with this to kind of help explain this, but because this deck is so XYZ oriented, you do not need to run 3 copies of Jackfrost, because when you have your XYZs out, your opponent will be attacking your XYZs, not your face, not directly. So Lantern does a better job there. But Jackfrost just does a wonderful job fixing mistakes and fixing problems and getting rid of Denko Seika, which is a problematic card. And Specter I've up to 2, just because destroying is suddenly coming back, and it's something that wasn't there before, but you don't want to waste your outs on just a simple 1 card being destroyed. You'd rather use this because it lets you get dig deeper into your deck and still keep your field presence, which is something that's really nice. And being able to do Jiangshi, when that dies, summon this, set, draw, you just deck it into twice and you are just at a huge advantage because of it. So I would suggest that. Moving on to the next portion. We are at spells. I am currently running 3 copies of Ghostrick Parade because Parade is kind of the main card. In this build, your goal is to try and mill your opponent out. And because MST is such a huge problem, I've also upped Mansion to 2. You do not feel the need to play 2 Mansion if you do not wish to, but I really like the idea of having multiple field spells. And I also run 1 Terraforming because I like to have multiple field spells in my hand. Parade does a really, really good job of keeping you in advantage at all times. And Parade plus Lanterns and Jackfrost and Marys, for that instance, it just generates you so much plus and so much advantage that the deck needs in order to win. And Mansion allows you to do OTK stuff as well as always keep a field spell out, which is something that you really want to try and do. And because MST is so prominent, it's just what you want to do. Terraforming is a card to help thin your deck. And in order to also help thin your deck, we're running 2 draw power, 1 day apiece, and 1 Allure of Darkness. You use 1 day apiece to stop the damage. It doesn't make it so Mary doesn't work, but it also makes it so you can keep your monsters or keep less damage out and let you take advantage of other situations. As well as Allure of Darkness. You do want almost all the monsters in your deck, but you don't need multiple copies of all of them. And Allure of Darkness just really lets you get to some of the spells and other cards that you need by pitching 1 and drawing. And since it's an equals, it's really nice. 1 day apiece is a decent card as well, just because of it just does really what it needs to do. Now, if you want to make this card 40 cards, you take out the Yuki-Onna, or the Snow Maiden is what I call her because that was her original translation. And you don't have to run this card, Snatch Steal. Personally, I run it because I just find the card really, really, really good in any situation. I was originally thinking it wouldn't be that good in Ghostricks, but the more I play, the more I realize just being able to take your opponent's card and just beat them with it for a while is just so strong. And if I have a set card, and then my opponent on their next turn uses Denko Seika, and my turn I activate Snatch Steal, I take the Denko Seika, I am now allowed to use my trap cards because her effect's negated because they're a back row on my side of the field. Which is just a nice little turn-off. As well as this gets rid of those problematic monsters, it gets rid of things like that. It helps you against the Cliff Fort matchup where you can't deal with the monsters because your effects can't touch them. This really helps. Here's some other portions. We are running 2 Swords of Concealing Light and a Book of Moon. So if you're really worried about Denko Seika, run the 3rd copy of Swords of Concealing Light. This really helps against her, and it's a spell, so you can just activate it, flip it down, and do your stuff, which is something that's really nice, and that gives you the extra time you need. This is the current spell I'm using because it works really well, and I don't have to deal with Denko Seika as much, but I know some of you guys are going to have to deal with it, so I've been trying to engineer the deck in a way to help fight it. For traps, I have 3 Vanish, 2 Scare, and 2 Night. I dropped Scare down to 2, simply because it's so searchable and so reusable, and you will use it. And so when you use it once, the simple combo of Dorklord plus Alucard means you can add 2 cards, 1 of this back and 1 from your deck. And you can reuse this, reuse another trap or spell, and you will keep your advantage so high that you never have to worry about this card. And because you are running so many level 1s and the ways to use level 3s, it is very, 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 like, you don't need the 3rd one as much. I did construct a side deck and an extra deck, just because you guys requested the side deck in several videos. But we're going to start with the extra deck. We had 3 copies of Alucard. This card is one of the main cards. You do only run, I think, was it 8 level 3s, but you also have the 2 tour guides. So a total of 10. You do make almost all of these cards. You make this card a lot just because Jiangshi and Mummy just help you fuel your plays. 1 Socuteboss, I am running currently, 3 level 2s. You'll only be running 2 if you take out the girl, but the Snow Maiden, and even if you don't do that, you only have 1. But there are those times when you use this card, so I always like to keep 1 in there. Plus, it just says Ghostrick, so you know. 3 copies of Dullahan. This is your other way to recycle cards, and you have a lot of level 1s, and so this card's not difficult to summon. Then we have 3 copies of Dorklord. Dorklord, it just, or what, Spoiled Angel, whatever you want to call it. She is how the deck wins. My current build here is that it wins because she generates you so much plus and so much advantage. It's like you just completely steal games. And so the way that this deck is designed, you really do need to get your hands on her, and it's best to play it online until we get her. And it'd be really cool if we got her in some special edition set, and it's really likely because they keep giving us random cards recently, so we could be getting this card soon, and that'd be nice. And the last card that actually matters for the deck is Downerd Magician, just because it gives you that extra out once you've ran all your Downers, or not Downers, all of your Dorklords. I would run 2 more, but it's iffy. I don't know if you need more. The last 4 don't matter. I would actually probably run 1 Fortune Tune. You can make Zen Mains and stuff if you want to. You never will. And the tour guide gives you more options, so you can run Acid Golem or Leviair or Leviathan if you want to run those cards. I don't feel the need to, but because of the tour guide being in the deck now, you are able to officially XYZ into whatever you want more efficiently now. Now, you guys were asking for a side deck, so I threw one together. We're going to start off. The sleeves are not the same color because I just kind of took the cards that I would build for this side deck and stuck it together. Starting off with 2 Max C and 2 Flying C. These cards really hurt your opponent, and Flying C buys you the time you need to be able to set up your plays because you can stop your opponent's level 4 monsters. Max C also gets you to your cards, which is really nice. It's just something really good. And now, some problems with the decks. If you have to deal with, If you have to deal with different cards that just really hurt you, this card helps you do that. It helps you get rid of the Denko Seika. This card, it really helps you against Denko Seika because they attack directly, you set their monster, and you can go off next turn, which is really nice. If you have to deal with Fire Kings and stuff, this card's really good. It just helps you deal with those situations. It's just a random kind of thing. This card is good against Shaddolls. I wouldn't actually run 3 copies of this, to be honest. I would be running a 2nd copy or a 3rd copy of Lightmere just to help against stuff, because Lightmere does stop them from activating the effect of Dante, because it says when the effect of a monster is activated and get it. So it's like, it just helps against those. It helps stop your opponent from milling as much, helps stop them from getting their attack boost. So this is our way to side against Burning Abyss, because everything that you said against Burning Abyss kind of hurts. Like, Shadowmere does not help this deck, so do not run Shadowmere. It will kill you. But I would be running 3 copies of Shadowmere. But Ghostrick Doll is good against Shaddolls, so that's why that's in there. 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, because you really die to Vanities. So if your opponent's playing the Vanities, you side in 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. There are different cards that do not matter for certain matchups, such as if your opponent is playing Burning Abyss, you won't need certain cards in the deck, such as you probably won't need Yuki-Onna, because they probably won't keep their card on the field for long enough. They'll probably mix it up or destroy it with Burning Abyss, or with the Fire Lake and such. So, this card right here would help against certain decks like that. The last 2 cards is that and that, the Scare and the Swords, because it really depends on what you're facing. This stops Denko Seika. This card just helps fight against just Qliphorts. That's a problem you have. Qliphorts can kill you, but luckily enough you can survive them using your traps, your spells, and some of your monsters. So that is this list. I really have been working on this a while. It's very difficult to make this deck compete. So if you really do want to try and make the card 40 cards, take out the Snatch Steal, take out the Yuki-Onna. They're just cards I really like. I feel like they can be running I feel like this can be running literally anything. And she is just a great card. I always will keep it in the deck. This deck is 42 cards. The extra deck is 15 cards. If you include the 4 random crap ones, I would really be running stuff like Acid Golem, Leviathan, Zen Mains, and a stinking whatever the other card was called. It's just Fortune Tune, because it's just an interesting way to do it. It's just, the side deck is also there depending on what you want. The main ones you need to keep are Lightmere, 3 MST, you really want those, the Swords of Concealing Light, the Max Cs and the Flying Cs, and maybe the extra Lantern, just because you really do have to fight Vanities, Emptiness, and cards of the sort. So, this is the Ghostrick profile. I hope you enjoyed. I updated it for you guys, so remember to hit that like button, hit subscribe, link this to anybody you know, and comment down below. And as always, have a wonderful day. Yeah. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like this video, comment what you think below, and subscribe for more content. And feel free to click the annotation on the screen to see one of our most recent videos. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day. Yeah.